Welcome back to On the Record, Radio Entrepreneurs, coming to you from the offices of O'Brien and Levine Court Reporting Services. I'm Jonathan Friedman, joined today by Mark Z.
Good to be with you, John.
Mark, as we continue on our segment with attorneys, we have next up from Bowditch and Dewey, we have Tim Van Dyck and Bob Young. Gentlemen, welcome.
It's good to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming in today. So tell us a little bit about the current state of law in Massachusetts with respect to non-competes.
There's been a lot of activity about non-competes in Massachusetts and the current state of them and whether they should be enforced or not enforced. I would say over the past 2 to 3 years, there have been a number of legislative attempts to get non-competes so they're no longer enforceable in Massachusetts. Those attempts thus far have failed. The current state of the law is that non-competes are enforceable in Massachusetts, but in order for them to be enforceable, they need to be tailored so that they're reasonable in time and space, and that their intended effect is to protect the goodwill or the proprietary information of the company using them.
You know,
I'm sorry, if I can just add,
please.
The legislative efforts continue apace. There are, I believe, 3 bills currently pending in different iterations filed by different representatives that would outright ban non-competes. Last year, Governor Patrick came out in favor of a ban, which I believe was the first time the governor's office threw its support behind these bills.
Right.
They still were unsuccessful, but the efforts continue.
What's interesting about non-competes, and you talk about Governor Patrick getting behind it, it's a balance, because on one hand, you have a lot of the companies, which is what Governor Patrick tried to encourage, have companies come here, grow, and be able to bring the talent. On the other hand, the companies that are using the fact that there's no non-compete law in California to have all the talent, want to protect their talent here. So it's sort of a dichotomy.
It is, and as you said, the argument seems to be that, at least among the venture capitalists and so forth, we're competing for the same talent here in Massachusetts as in California, and we're losing that talent because we have non-competes and California doesn't. On the other hand, you've got established industries here in Massachusetts that have had non-competes in effect for a very long time,
Right.
and want to make sure that those non-competes stay enforceable.
Now, what's interesting is some of the established companies in Massachusetts, I know because I, myself along with John, we work with a lot of entrepreneurial companies. And what they do is they'll bring on talented people, they'll have them sign a non-compete, but they'll say to them, look, once you leave us for a year, you can't do X, Y, and Z, but we will tell you what. We will give you notice within X amount of time whether or not we'll enforce this non-compete. If we do, we'll give you a portion of the salary. And have you found that companies are sort of trying to think outside the box to protect themselves to get an enforceable non-compete?
Well, I think from a litigation perspective, as you brought out before, the ultimate question in these cases boils down to fairness. Is a court going to enforce it because it views it as a fair restriction on competition or an unfair restriction on competition? And the more an employee or former employee is provided, especially post-employment, the more likely a court will look favorably on that agreement because the employee is not without any income stream or without any benefit after the employment relationship has ended. So it really does go to the likelihood of enforceability.
Yeah, as Bob said, oftentimes clients will come to us and say, I've got a non-compete agreement in place. I just have an employee who left me to go to work for a competitor across the street. Let's go to court and enforce this thing. And one of the things we need to educate our clients about is the fact that it's not strictly a legal argument. That when you go into court and you seek any kind of an injunction to prevent the employee from working for a competitor, the court's going to look at what the contract says, don't get me wrong, but the court is also going to look at the basic equities, the fairness of the situation, and there are a lot of factors that can go into that.